Dear viewers, in our previous videos, we have understood about simple moving average, weighted moving average, exponential moving average. In today's video, we are going to understand about cumulative moving average. So what exactly cumulative moving average is all about? What is the formula? How we can understand it with the help of a simple example, and how this can be used in Excel, how the calculation can be used in Excel, and what are the used cases, where do we use cumulative moving average, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of using cumulative average. This is what we are going to see in this video. Let's get into the video. As I was explaining in the introduction, cumulative moving average CMA is a type of moving average that considers all the data points from the beginning of the data set up to the current time. So what does it meaning? For example, if I join an organization and on day 1, let's assume I produce 15 units. My productivity on day 1 is 15 units. So my productivity on day 2, let's assume day 2, because I would have learned something about the process on day 1. So let's say day 2 I produce 18 units. So day 1 my number of unit produced will be 15. Day 2 will be 15 plus 18 divided by 2. So that will be my second day cumulative average. Third day, let's assume I produce 20 units. Then my third day cumulative average will be 15 plus 18 plus 20 divided by 3. So what are we doing here? We are adding the data point right from the first data point till the most recently added data point, and then we calculate average at each stage. By doing this, what do we understand? We understand how the average is improving, or average is moving, or average is reacting for every single data point that get added. So that is the idea, or that is the concept of this. It continuously updates as new data points are added and recalculating the average each time. So that is how this cumulative moving average as a concept works. So let's understand the formula. The formula for cumulative moving average is simple. So cumulative moving average is nothing but adding the new data point and then recalculating the average. So that is how the cumulative moving average works. And if you want to understand the formula to be used in Excel, right? So there is a cumulative moving average formula here. So there is one more formula. This formula helps us to do it in an Excel file. So I will come to the second formula, the alternative cumulative moving average formula. I will come to it as we move to Excel when I am explaining a sample calculation. Now let's understand this formula with help of a sample data. So here I have a sample data 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 25, 35, 55, 45. These are my data points. So how do I calculate cumulative moving average? Cumulative moving average for the first data point will be the data point itself. For example, in this case, 10 becomes the cumulative moving average because 10 divided by 1 will give you 10 only. But for the second data point, 10 plus 20 divided by 2, 15. And for the third data point, 10 plus 20 plus 30. The third data point is also getting added. So 10 plus 20 plus 30 divided by 3, we get 20. And for the fourth data point, you will add all the 4 data points and divide by 4. For the fifth data point, you again do the same, add all the 5 data points and divide by 5. So by this way, when we calculate, what we get is called cumulative moving average. Now this looks simple, straightforward. The application of this also, in some places it is very useful. There is pros and cons of using it. So before we get into the pros and cons, let's move to the Excel file and understand how does this get calculated in Excel. So as I told, the formula, there are two different formulas, right? So there is one simple formula which we can use when we are doing it in a paper pencil exercise, and there is one more formula which we can use when we are doing it in a Excel, or when we are using it in some kind of a software, how that formula need to be updated. So for our simple understanding, the first cumulative moving average will be the data as it is. The second one will be average of, I say average of these two data points. And then what will happen? I will continue to apply the same average formula, and I will add one data points to my list, and I will calculate this average. So this is how I do it. So formula wise, it's not that easy to do it this way. So that is why there is one alternate formula. So to start with, let's first understand this formula. So I say average four data points, average 5 data points, average average 7 data points, average 8 data points, and then I say average, I get 9 data points. So this is not that easy. In a paper pencil exercise, this method looks simple, easy, but in Excel when we are doing it, this is not that easy. So this is one way of calculating it. Let's see the alternate formula. The alternate formula says cumulative average for time period t is equal to cumulative average for time period t minus 1. That means the previous cumulative average plus the data point for time period t minus cumulative average for t minus 1 divided by t. So what do we mean by this? Let's understand this formula. The formula goes like this. So if I want to calculate cumulative average for data point number 2, how does it work? So is equal to, so the first one that we need to understand is cumulative average of the previous data point. So this value plus, if you see the formula, cumulative average of t minus 1 plus, there's a numerator and there's a denominator. Numerator is the current data point minus cumulative average of the previous data point divided by the number of data points. So what is this number of data point? I'll explain this in a very easy way. So because there is a numerator denominator, I'm opening sorry, I'm creating brackets. So now we will create the numerator, then we will create the denominator. So the numerator here is going to be the individual data point minus cumulative average of the previous data point, close brackets. So the numerator is ready. Now the denominator will be the sequence of data point. In this case, this data point is number 2. So that will become my denominator. Am I right? So now I close the bracket, right? Now if I hit enter, I will get exactly the same value. So now what we can do is we can simply copy paste this and we will see that, just a minute. So let me check the formula. So cumulative, so the date, so we need to take the cumulative average of the previous day plus the current data point minus cumulative average of the previous day divided by the A4. Yes, formula is correct. Let's understand. So there is something wrong here. Let me understand what is gone wrong here. So I did not use the correct average formula previously. That is the problem. So is equal to average of is equal to average of So if you see here in Excel, we can do it this way, but this will take more time. So instead of doing it this way, if you want to do a iterative way, or if you want to create a equation which can be copy pasted, then the formula will be cumulative average for a time period t is equal to cumulative average of time period t minus 1, this value, plus the current data point minus cumulative average of the previous time period divided by the current sequence, which is t. So that is what I was explaining in the Excel. In Excel, it goes like this. Let me do it one more time. So C3 is the current, C3 is the cumulative average of the previous data point. B4 is the current data point. So B4 minus again cumulative average of the previous data point divided by the sequence. In this particular order, this is the second data point, so we are dividing it by 2. So next time if it is a third data point, we will divide it with 3. So that's how this happens. So this is the formula for cumulative moving average. Now we will understand the pros, cons, and where this cumulative average get used. So cumulative average as a concept is generally used in a quality control or process stability. Cumulative average is used to track the average defect rate or cycle time across all production runs. For example, when you start a particular production run, how are you performing? And as the production run get increased, you start producing more and more, you get more and more experience on the process, how your average is improving. So it's not average for a given period of time, but it is a rolling average, or in other words, it is a cumulative average, right? Then you can also use this to monitor learning curve whenever you are in a training and development process, or you are from a training department, or you are handling a new team which is getting used to a particular process. Cumulative average is a very good indicator to see how the team's overall performance is improving from day one till date, how it is improving. Again, in financial industry, cumulative moving average can be used to identify the returns or average stock price over a long period of time. Instead of understanding it for a short period of time, we can understand it for a long period of time. So cumulative moving average have its own advantages, like the formula is simple, it's easy to calculate, easy to interpret, it gives you a view of a long-term trend. It also smoothens the short-term fluctuation and gives you an idea of the long-term trend in the data considering the historical data. However, some disadvantages of using cumulative moving averages, it is more sensitive to older data. So it considers older data also in your modeling. Older data, very old data also have a role to play in your modeling, which sometimes may not be correct when you are dealing with more recent trends having higher weightage. So that is where from cumulative moving average we need to move to exponential moving average. Similarly, cumulative moving average may not be suitable for rapidly changing process. If a process goes through frequent updates, frequent changes, process goes through lot of corrections, updates, in such a process, considering the old data where the process was operating with a previous process steps, the new updates were not effective. If you take those data points, then cumulative moving average may not be the right way to do the calculation. So again, that is where you will use exponential moving average as a method. So friends, I hope this video was useful for you to understand what is called cumulative moving average, how it is different from the other types of moving average like simple moving average or weighted moving average or exponential moving average. As I was explaining, there are certain specific cases where cumulative moving average makes sense, and there are certain cases where we should not use cumulative moving average. Hope this video was helpful. For more video on time series analysis, moving average, quality management tools and techniques, Minitab tools and techniques, please subscribe and follow our channel. Thanks for your time. See you in another video. Thank you.